This place has always been on my radar. Deep in eastern Siberia, tucked away in rugged mountains, there is a lake that holds 1/5 of the planet's fresh water and keeps a myriad of mysteries within its endless depths. No one knows how they got into the lake, but they're doing a really great job keeping it nice and clean. Every winter, when the lake freezes over, it looks like an alien planet and stirs the minds of thrill-seekers who come here for a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Well, that's the best shot you can make at Lake Baikal. This is why people come here to, feel this connection with the most beautiful and one of the most majestic places on Earth.
This time, however, the lake has an unusual visitor. No, not me. Him.
You've never really lived until you almost died.
Meet Dan, an American combat veteran who fought and almost died in Afghanistan. Last year, he moved to Russia and has been living his life to the fullest ever since.
You are one crazy American.
I'll come back 2024, we'll set the record.
Stay with us and I'll show you what's hidden behind the picturesque views and how the war in Ukraine and Western sanctions have affected even this remote Russian community.
Well, some of the houses in the village still have these small windows. And do you know what people use this for? There was a famous TV show in Russia where some of the country's smartest people tried to brainstorm tough questions. They couldn't work it out.
Lake Baikal is located in eastern Siberia, not far from the Russian-Mongolian border. In fact, this place is much closer to China and Japan than to Moscow. I first flew to Ulan-Ude, the capital of Buryatia, one of Russia's regions positioned around the lake. From there, I took a 14-minute flight to the town of Khuzhir, the biggest settlement on Alhon Island in Lake Baikal.
There are 7 people on this plane. This tiny plane is a snap out. I know it's not a private jet. Far from it. It's actually pretty cool, pretty comfortable. But do you know how much I paid for this flight? $13.
Short-range flights in Russia's remote regions are subsidized by the government, and locals often call these tiny planes flying taxis. Even if you sit all the way in the back, you can still see the pilot's head lurking from behind a curtain, which is the only thing that separates the cockpit from the rest of the cabin. But the main thing that passengers love about these flights is these stunning views. This is an L-410. It was first designed in communist Czechoslovakia in the 1960s. Russia had remained the biggest and virtually only market for the latest models of this aircraft until the Czech Republic decided to cut ties with Russia over the war in Ukraine.
That's the journey to Lake Baikal, the greatest, the biggest, the oldest, the cleanest lake in the world. Begin. This is hands down the most unusual airport I've ever been to. So the entire airport is this wooden building and this white tent. This is the terminal.
Luggage carousels are non-existent at this airport. Bags are dropped off on a motorbike and you pick them up yourself.
Надо, да.
Во сколько человек?
Я один.
300 рублей человека до Хужира.
Хорошо.
Все, стоите.
The capital of the island I landed on, or rather its biggest settlement, is just a tiny town of 1,700 people who mostly live in wooden houses nested on top of each other. Tourists and YouTubers like myself are their main source of income.
All right, so I was dropped off in the middle of the village. Now let's go find my guest house and see where I'll be staying for the next couple of days. Доброе утро. Да. So here's the room. It's not big, it's not much, but it's pretty nice. But most importantly, this room has this running water.
As surprising as it might sound, people who live next to the biggest lake in the world have problems getting fresh water. I'll get to this later in the video. For now, let's go see Daniel, an American war veteran who kindly agreed to join me on this trip.
Hey, Dan. Is that you?
I knew it was you because of the camera.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Daniel Castellan is a decorated former Marine who fought in Afghanistan. In 2022, after the war in Ukraine started, he left Los Angeles, where he was born and grew up, and moved to Russia. I'll make a separate video about his fascinating story and explain what took him so far from home to a small Russian village at Lake Baikal. For now, let's go to a cozy cafe where Dan, his Russian girlfriend Ksenia, and I are getting ready for a trip across the lake.
Imagine that this is the entire amount of fresh water that we have at our plant. Now, this is how much fresh water there is in Lake Baikal. So, 1/5 of the fresh water on our planet is in Lake Baikal. I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy because the Great Lakes in America, all of them fit inside Lake Baikal volume-wise. So Lake Baikal.
Yep. Lake Baikal covers a gigantic rift in the Earth's crust. You could stack 5 Eiffel Towers on top of each other in it. It's unusual for a lake to be that deep. Scientists believe Baikal is a young ocean that is still forming and will end up dividing the Asian continent into 2 big chunks 1 million years from now.
Well, here's the deal. If you're at Baikal, you want to find an area with clean ice that's not covered in snow, because otherwise you won't see much. And to do so, you definitely need the right vehicle.
And an experienced local driver who can take on treacherous ice highways and not get sunk while driving across the deepest lake on the planet. So, are we ready?
Let's go.
Excited?
Yeah, very much so.
Let's hit the road.
When we drove onto the ice, the driver told me not to put on a seatbelt for safety reasons.
If anything goes wrong and have to jump out of the car like real quick, you don't want that seatbelt on.
At the time we arrived, the ice is usually 60-70 centimeters deep. In theory, that's enough to hold the weight of a car. However, accidents with vehicles falling through the ice aren't rare at Baikal. There's only one official ice road that links the island with the mainland during winter months. Everywhere else, you drive at your own risk.
Бывают не знающие люди едут туда, куда не надо ехать, и проваливают.
The safest form of transport here is these airboats. Even if the ice cracks and you fall through, it will stay afloat because of the air pillow underneath. But they're also very expensive to rent. It could be anywhere between $800 and $900 for a day. So we picked something cheaper. A Soviet-era UAZ 452 minivan, which has been nicknamed Bread Loaf in Russian for its funny appearance. It first appeared in the 1960s, and modern models are still being made in Russia. It's by far the most popular vehicle around Baikal. We saw people with both a luxury car and a bread loaf.
This is why these Soviet-era all-terrain vehicles are so good. They can take on all rough terrain. Even if they break down, fall on it, no big deal. Spare parts are accessible and they're cheaper. So, this is one of the reasons why the vehicles love them so much.
Вот насколько ты эту буханку купил? Ой, я еще когда в 17 году купил где-то 620.
I don't know if you can feel it, but I can definitely feel it. When we're out on like clean ice, we're drifting.
Wow!
Holy sh**.
You just step into
Yeah.
pure ice.
Yeah, you could really see how thick it is now for sure because it's more clear. Now you can really see how deep it goes. There's layers on layers of cracks, and then it's one crack and then another crack and another crack. Where am I gonna see that in Southern California? only in Baikal you can see this.
Would you dare just to jump here?
Jump?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, it's alright.
We're still alive?
But that honestly,
No.
oh, hell no. I don't know how that felt. I know it's not gonna crack, but that 1% scares me.
Every once in a while, you can hear this, cracking. This kind of sound that makes you jittery a bit.
Yeah. It gives you like in your stomach that it's going to happen. You hear like a and you're gone.
The ice might seem fragile because of how clean it is. Sometimes you can even see the lake bottom, although it's several meters deep.
Well, the reason Lake Baikal is so clean is there are these weird organisms called gubki in Russian, which can be roughly translated as sponges in English. They're not plants and they're not really animals, they're something else. Funny thing is that no one knows how they got into the lake, but they're doing a really great job keeping it nice and clean.
At some point, we even stopped and made fish soup with some of the world's cleanest water. It was something else. But what was even more exciting was drinking cold, crystal clear water right from the lake.
It doesn't taste like bottled water, obviously. It does have a taste to it. I wouldn't know how to describe it, but it's so sweet.
All right, let's try it. I don't know, man. I just don't taste
You don't
anything.
taste it? Really?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry.
When you drink it, I'll hold it in your mouth and bring it to the back of your tongue.
Let me give it another shot. Well, now that you told me. Yeah. It has a sour taste.
You have to let it sit in the back of your tongue and then swallow it.
Daniel has a YouTube channel that I encourage you to check out. After all, he lives at Lake Baikal, unlike me. What I love about his channel is that he started it not for views or money, but to show his worrying mother and family on the other side of the globe what's going on in his life.
All right, Mom, we're going to play a game today. We're going to go into this cave where there's a lot of these sharp icicles, and we're going to touch the end of the cave.
Oh my God, it's so tight. I hope this thing won't crash on us.
If it starts to fall, this is going to be our new home. Oh, that's what happens when you touch things.
So you are a little bit destructive.
This cave is ruined because of me if I continue to stay here, so I need to get out. Really. My parents call me the atomic bomb.
One of the things that people usually do while exploring Lake Baikal is they go ice skating because, well, Lake Baikal is the biggest ice rink in the world after all. Hey Daniel, wait up!
I'm uncontrollable when I get started.
Hey, you're doing good, man. Hold on.
All right.
Man, we're so clumsy.
And yet, we decided to see who's faster on skates.
1, 2, 3. Let's go. Hold on. Hey. Oh. Well, it doesn't count if you fell. And I'm still on my feet.
It was an amazing day out on Lake Baikal. But when we got back to town, I couldn't help but notice that the views here weren't as beautiful. And when I asked the local mayor about it, I was surprised to get a straightforward, honest answer.
Человек, который едет сюда, он должен понимать, что он едет в обычный населенный пункт. У нас люди ходят по улице и предъявляют претензии. А что это у вас заборы разноцветные? А что там у вас тут того нет, всего нет? В ответ хочется сказать, мы обычные деревни Российской Федерации, мы живем в одной стране. Живут ли жители сельской местности лучше, чем мы? Вопрос.
To get more on the town's history, we went to a local museum run by enthusiastic women, one of whom is the granddaughter of its founder. Because the town has no central heating, and it's dangerous to use firewood in the museum, the temperature in the main exhibition hall was almost as low as outside.
Well, it's so cold in the museum, I can see my breath.
The town of Khujir on Alhon Island was founded in the 1930s around a fish processing plant. You can still find abandoned fishing boats moored in what used to be the town's port. Alhon was also a place where the Soviet government sent thousands of people found guilty of collaborating or fighting alongside the Nazis during World War II. Among those were many Lithuanians and Ukrainians.
Среди этих украинцев были, конечно, такие махровые, так скажем, да, нацисты. Одного арестовали, у меня фамилия записана, я не помню, как его фамилия. Оказывается, он был полковником СС, и за ним был такой шлейф вот этих преступлений против человечества. Все эти спецпереселенцы, они жили вместе как бы с местным населением, на тех же условиях, строили себе дома, работали по специальности. Если ты инженер, то ты инженером работал. То есть вот цеха рыбзавода строила под руководством литовского инженера.
The fish processing plant was shut down in modern times as it became clear that Lake Baikal's unique ecosystem needed to be preserved. Right now, the land around the lake is part of a national park, which has helped save the area from further environmental damage, but created additional problems for locals who live and develop tourism on the island. Well, here's an interesting case that shows you how complicated it might be to start a serious project at Lake Baikal. There was a businessman who built this cabin hotel on the lake's shore. By the time he finished it, the laws had been changed, and the hotel ended up on national parkland. Local environmental authorities sued him and ordered to tear the whole thing down. Later on, the national park's borders were altered, and the hotel was on the right side of the border again. But because of the court ruling, the businessman still needs to demolish all the structures and then build a new hotel from scratch, unless he wins the legal battle that's been dragging on for several years now. This is one of the reasons the place looks a bit underdeveloped. There's only so much you can build next to the most protected lake in Russia, even if you have money.
Some of the houses in the village still have these small windows, like tiny hatches. And do you know what people use this for at Lake Baikal? There was a famous TV show in Russia where some of the country's smartest people tried to brainstorm tough questions. They couldn't work it out. But locals actually use it to pump in fresh water from a tank truck that drives around the village and supplies water to the local people who don't have access to sewage or running water.
Putting in a proper water pipe system would require an expensive state-of-the-art treatment plant so that the sewage water is clean enough to be dumped back into Baikal. And while locals are still waiting for it to be built, they either rely on tank trucks or drill for underground water. That's what the owner of the guest house I stayed in did a few years ago.
Если раньше, 30 лет назад у всех были, извините, уличные туалеты и бани, никаких душевых ничего не было, то сейчас, конечно, большая разница. Кто-то живет еще и с уличными туалетами и банями, просто не без всяких душевых и без всяких удобств, а кто-то уже живет, как нормальная городская квартира.
German and other European tourists used to frequently visit Baikal. For many, it was an obligatory stop on a trip across the legendary Trans-Siberian Railway. Western sanctions imposed over the war in Ukraine have virtually eliminated this source of income for locals.
Очень многие работали бронирование систем через Booking.com. Букинга сейчас нету, и, конечно, есть другие какие-то площадки по бронированию, но они не такие активные, как Booking. Ну и второй момент, сюда ехало очень много иностранцев, очень много. И у нас сейчас туристический сезон сократился.
This place might not be an ideal resort town. Sure, the hardworking people of Khujir pull out all the stops to make it nice and welcoming, but the town still lacks basic infrastructure and the comforts that come along with it. And yet, it's easy to forget all this once you're out there in the frozen wilderness of Lake Baikal, especially if you cap off the day drinking wine out of the ice cups made from the cleanest water on the planet. Locals call it the kiss of Baikal.
This toast is for making new friends in beautiful places, and may you guys all continue to have beautiful adventures. Cheers! Cheers!
Я вот в этот раз задумалась, что же такое альхон для меня, да? Альхон — это в первую очередь, наверное, вот чувство у меня ассоциируется свобода. Море, Байкал, здесь горы. И чувствуешь, вот душа, мне кажется, вот взлетает, и она чувствует себя абсолютно свободной.
Не будет никаких условий, ни дороги, ни воды, ни света, ничего. Будут люди, которые здесь будут жить. Это коренные, которые рыбаки, которые любят природу, которые родились, выросли здесь, и которые, которым важнее, наверное, Родина.